Ahead on Early Birds. Kirk pays a visit to his old team and tries to get right against one of the league's top defenses. Breakout star breaks down how the different wide receiver positions line up. And it's Conference Championship Saturday as the Dogs try to hook them once again. The Falcons trying to get hot up in snowy Minnesota.
Dave, I need everything you got. Let's go, bring it up.
Early Bird starts now.
Grab a cup of your favorite Joe and let's talk Falcons football on Early Birds, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Good morning, welcome into Early Birds. He's DJ, I'm Justin, and Shock. What do you think of that horn the Vikings always play at their games?
Oh, it is pretty loud.
Did somebody?
I've heard it a bunch of times, and it's terribly loud.
Is the horn here somewhere? That was perfect impression. I want to hear that all the time throughout the show. Falcons will try to silence that noise. Let's get things started with the opening drive. It's Atlanta and the Vikings tomorrow at 1 here on Fox 5. Kirk Cousins will be the center of attention, but not all for the right reasons. Coming off his first 4-interception game in a decade, Shock, and Kirk hasn't thrown a touchdown since the Cowboys game.
Yeah, it's been a long time for sure. You're talking about 3 games and you got 6 interceptions in that miss. You haven't played your best football. You think he comes off where he's thrown for 500 yards a game. He's been really good at certain parts of the season, but the last 3 ball games have not been very Kirk-like. So you're hoping when he goes back to a familiar place that the old Kirk comes back and he plays a little bit better. But I think it's all about the details and the decisions for Kirk to get back on track.
Yeah, Raheem Morris says he's sticking with Cousins. It is not Michael Penix's time, but everybody agrees something's got to change.
It's just kind of been a deal where this league and football and my journey is, it always kicks you down and you got to find a way to get back up and find myself there again. I wish I would say it. I don't. I wish I could say I was in that spot, but I find myself there again and have to just believe that tough times don't last, tough people do.
That's a good way to look at it as we continue on the opening drive. Oh yeah, there's the homecoming aspect. This might be talked about once or twice this week. Kirk Cousins, of course, used to play for the Vikings, didn't he, DJ?
Yeah, he did. In 6 seasons there, played pretty well, did a lot of good things for him, obviously made a lot of money for them. But that guy right there was a big part of his career, big part of his success. So he's going back to a place that he's very familiar with, but also he understands the culture there. It's going to be loud. We talked about the horn already. It's going to be one of those environments where you think you get there early, get all the hugs and the pat on the backs out the way. Then when the ball kicks off, you're an Atlanta Falcons trying to win a ball game. Here's Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell on what they must do against Kirk and the Falcons.
I just know that it's going to be a challenge. Kirk's going to come in here and play well and lead that offense, and we've got to find a way to play really good defense and try to limit their ops, especially to be explosive, to possess the football, and try to play complementary to our defense with how we play on offense.
Well, speaking of really good defense, as we wrap up the opening drive, the Falcons' D is coming off what might be one of their best games of the year. A bunch of sacks against the Chargers didn't allow the offense to get in the end zone. How do they keep things going against the guy you already mentioned, Justin Jefferson and the Vikings?
It's going to be tough because he's one of those kind of guys you come into the ball game and say, okay, this guy's going to get his catches, he's going to get his yards. Something we saw last week with Ladd McConkey. But you have to limit those explosive plays, limit him getting over the top. He's going to have his underneath stuff, but you can't allow him to get going and have a 10, 11, 12, 150-yard ball game. Know where he is and understand that they're trying to isolate him, but you can't allow him to have those big plays.
Falcons defense trying to keep that momentum going as they head to Minnesota. Welcome into Early Birds alongside DJ Shockley. I'm Justin Felder, and the Vikings, well, they're arguably in the best division in football right now in the NFC North. Falcons, meanwhile, trying to avoid falling behind Tampa Bay in the South.
And when you thought we were doing really well, we was up at 6-3 at one time, had beat Tampa twice. Now you're even with them. This last 5 stretch of the season is going to mean a lot. You got to play your best football down the stretch.
And a tough opponent this week. Well, Shock, I never meant to cause you sorrow, never meant to cause you pain, only want to see you laughing in the purple film room.
It was rhyming for a minute. I don't know.
It's Prince. Purple Rain, Minnesota,
so.
Minneapolis.
I didn't want to go there because I saw you say purple film room.
Can I get the horn real quick? Perfect. Go warm up the telestrator. We'll see you in just a few. But first, let's go back to that Falcons defense for just a moment because they deserve a little bit of extra spotlight after facing plenty of doubts over the last few weeks. Atlanta's secondary gets yet another test tomorrow against Sam Darnold, who's reignited his career up in the Midwest. A key contributor for the Falcons lately has been Clark Phillips. He sat down one-on-one with our Kelly Price.
Obviously, it's been kind of a back and forth couple of weeks. You had the bye week. It's been up and down, but what's kind of the mood around the facility right now?
Right now, I would say, we're in a place where we know we've got to continue to fight, we've got to continue to grow, and we've got to keep on plugging along. We've obviously had some tough last couple of weeks, but we know it don't define us. Obviously, there's been some reasons why we haven't been able to, stay on the same page, which is why, we're 6-6, right? But we got to continue to fight, and we can't lose hope, can't lose doubt, we can't have any doubt, and we got to trust the next man next to us.
I gotta ask about the Crash Out Crew t-shirts. I think you wore one earlier this season, like walking into a game. How did those happen? Did you guys print them? Like, I need the full story of like how these came to be.
So Crash Out's kind of been our theme. We pride ourselves in that DB room, man, of just kind of going out and laying the wood, hitting people hard and making tackles, and just kind of that's the epitome of a Falcons DB right now, and like just being Crash Out, just being not reckless, but it's kind of like a controlled violence. And so I'll say AJ was kind of like the one that came up with the name, and then it kind of morphed into like guys like, man, this is who we bet, let's do it. And then Antonio Hamilton, he ended up getting the shirts one game, and we wore them in the pregame, and it's it's kind of become who we are.
Is this something you guys are gonna put them on sale? Like, can fans get them? Because I know I personally was like, okay, those are kind of tough.
At some point we might have to do that.
Talk about the closeness too of this secondary, because I feel like, I know you have last year to compare it to, but just maybe how different this crew is and maybe how tight-knit you guys are.
I think when you go to war with guys, you kind of build a different level of a bond, especially you win, lose games, and those losses sometimes help you get even closer. That's one of the reasons why we're so close. I could say the same about last year's team, same about last year's DB room. So I'm excited to continue to work with these dudes.
Have you seen that throughout this season to grow even more, just because of, like you said, just adversity you guys have faced in the course of these first 12 games?
Right. No, I think adversity builds character. I think it's good for us, and especially where we're at right now, and we're trying to outrun the South, and I think all of this stuff is going to be worth it, and it's going to make the wins and all the victories that much sweeter.
It's time to get some game intel from Shock. You're invited into the film room. So cut the lights and let's get started.
Now, Justin and I were just talking about some of the good things on the defensive side that this defense was doing, like the sacks, like getting after the quarterback. This is what you must have against a guy like Sam Darnold. You got to be able to push the pocket. You got to understand where guys are going to be. And the ultimate word that I give is complementary. Where the back end works with the front end works with the back end. It all comes together to create a sack. Now, of course, sometimes there's always good senses where you got good things going on, especially up front. Now, I want you to know that you got 5 guys up front right now, so it looks like there could be any number of these 5 guys coming at one time. But what's going to happen is they're going to actually bail. He's going to bail out, and now you're going to get pressure up front by just 4 guys. This is really good. You can get pressure with 4 defensive linemen. They're going to run a stunt up front. Now, this stunt here, it has Ed McCady here, who's right here. He's going to do a really good job of pushing these 2 guys. As he pushes these 2 guys, now you're going to get action from the inside where my man Contavious Street romps all the way around here. He's going to get the pressure. But the other part is they do a good job of keeping contained on the outside as well. So there's nowhere for the quarterback to go. While he's inside the pocket or outside the pocket, a really good job here of pushing the pocket. So let's watch it. Now you see the bail. You see the bail here. Also on the back end, I talked about complementary football. Look at all the eyes that are on the quarterback. Eyes here, eyes. Everything's in front of them, so you can't allow everything to happen on the outside. So a good job here. Now you see the pressure coming from up front here. Now you see the loop around. Here's the loop around that I just talked about. Loop around, come around here. But there's nowhere for Justin Herbert to go. You got right up to this angle here, which is a good job of holding your ground here so that if you get up too far afield, he'll come up here. But he does a good job of coming around here and a nice job of finishing. And now you get to the quarterback. What we call a coverage sack on the back end, but also really good edge contained. Nice job by Street getting to the quarterback. And hopefully, Justin, we have more of this on Sunday when they get out the quarterback and get Sam Darnold to the ground.
Yeah, it was a huge pressure day against the Chargers. They're going to try to keep it up tomorrow for sure. Shock, thanks so much. We have more to come on Early Birds. It is Championship Saturday in college football. That means Georgia, Texas, Part 2 this afternoon. Michael Jenkins will break it all down next. Plus,
for me, when I'm outside, I got more speed up the ball than when I'm inside. Because when I'm inside, I'm more tempo-ish and reading.
Ray McLeod had a career high in receiving yards for a game against the Chargers, and he's been doing damage all over the field. Ray gives you the inside scoop on playing inside versus outside. That's when we go deep.
You're watching Early Birds, presented by Mercedes-Benz. Best, nothing. And sponsored by the Georgia Lottery. Today could be the day. And the Home Depot. How doers get more done. More Early Birds coming back at you. Early Birds. It's not Saturday down south without talking college football. Brought to you by Zaxby's, famous fingers and sauces. Here's Shock.
Back on Early Birds, my man Michael Jenkins on a big day of college football.
Yes,
Call it championship weekend, right?
Yes, it is.
There's a lot going on, obviously, Jake. Before we talk about any of the big games that's coming on today, I want to get your reactions from the rankings last week. Obviously, when you get the chance to talk about your Buckeyes going down.
Man.
But what's your reaction about this week's rankings? And I think it's the big question. Bama get in?
A lot depends on that, and that's the from the rankings you're like do they just want Bama in
Right,
there?
like
So, but I think if Clemson win, if UNLV wins, I think that totally knocks Bama out.
Scenarios was way on my head. I'm glad Jake can talk about it. All right, let's talk SEC championship, Longhorns, Dogs. Let's start on the Longhorns side of it first off. How do they get it done, and what has impressed you about this Texas team?
I mean, they've consistently, besides that one game against Georgia, I mean, they've been a really solid football team with Quinn Ewers at the helm. So for them, can they not have that same first half like they had obviously against Georgia last time? Can Quinn Ewers get going? Can they use Arch Manning with his legs? As we know, Georgia has struggled a little bit with mobile quarterbacks. Milroe, Haynes King last week. So we'll see what type of offensive output they have with their quarterbacks.
They're going to have a different plan coming in this time for sure. All right, let's check out what the Longhorns head coach Steve Sarkisian had to say about matching the Dogs' no-quit mentality.
Georgia's got the heart of a champion, and you see it time and time again. You watch their game against Georgia Tech when it looked like they were dead and gone, and they fought their way all the way back to have to go play, 8 overtimes to ultimately win that ball game. And so, we're going to have to play all of 60 minutes and maybe beyond, and we're going to have to play a better version of football than we played the first time around.
Jake, let's flip it on the other side now. Look at the Dogs' perspective. Beating them twice, as we know, it's tough to beat any team twice in a season. How do the Dogs get it done, and who has to be big for them to get a win?
I think Carson Beck, who has been playing well these last few games, where he has 11 interceptions, basically 11 touchdowns to no interceptions these last 3 games, has been huge. If he can keep that going, along with if they continue to find that run game that they had against Texas the last time. I know Etienne could be in or out, but that was huge for them, where he had 3 rushing touchdowns against Texas. So, I know you got the freshman back there. Can he get the job done and keep that ground game going?
All right, here's Dogs head man Kirby Smart on how Texas has grown since their last matchup.
Well, number one, they've played better teams since us. They coming into our game, they had not played maybe the quality they have since our game. I think that makes you better, just like us. Like iron sharpens iron, you play better teams. So they have played really tough SEC competition all the way up to the A&M game, who's a tremendous defensive football team. And Texas has played better with each and every opportunity. So they're not the same team we faced then.
Jake, one other massive championship game, Penn State facing Oregon. Your Buckeyes seen both of them. What are you looking for on either side of this ball game?
I think this one just comes down to James Franklin and Penn State.
Can they get it done?
Can he, who has been 1-13 against top 5 teams, finally get a win? Wow. Against a top 5 team that is pretty dominant, that's playing extremely well. We know what Dan Lanning brings with his attitude and his mindset with Oregon. So can Penn State and Coach Franklin finally get a win against a top 5?
I like where you're going with it. Do you think they get it done?
No.
All right, Jake, last thing real quickly. Do you like where your Buckeyes sit right now?
We're resting. We're not playing today.
Right.
So, you got to take that into account.
Still can get in.
We'll see what happens.
All right, man. Jake, we appreciate you, man. Always good stuff. Justin, lots of big games today. Any of them catch your eye, or anyone you're looking forward to watching?
I'm certainly looking forward to seeing your Bulldogs play today, see what happens. I want to see if there's any intrigue. Can it be like March Madness? Can anybody steal a bid, anything like that? Knock somebody out of a bye that thought they wouldn't be playing that first round? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing in this first year of the expanded playoffs. Guys, great stuff. Looking forward to the games today. Well, Ray McLeod already has a career high in receiving yards so far this season, with 5 games still to be played. Now, part of McLeod's success has come from his ability to play all over the field. That means some extra studying of positions and mastering of different techniques. He explains in this week's Going Deep.
What are the differences between playing receiver out of the slot versus on the outside? Can you kind of break down how you maybe approach those two things differently?
For me personally, I think speed off the ball. I think in the slot you get more of a tempo reading, coverage reading. You have to find your way through linebackers, safeties. Maybe if you got man-to-man, you got someone following you, and you got to get through a P dropper, which is like a lineman that may drop or a linebacker that may drop in the coverage to rob off certain backside routes and stuff. And I feel like when you're outside, you can sell deep balls more and verticals. It's not really you running into linebackers doing anything like that. So you get more of a speed off the ball. For me, I mean, when I'm outside, I got more speed off the ball than when I'm inside. Because inside, I'm more tempo-ish and reading. I'm reading coverage, sitting in holes, being in for the quarterback, being a safety blanket for the quarterback. I feel like.
Very interesting perspective there. Well, getting back on the field after an injury is one thing. Getting back to full strength can be another. We get the medical perspective next on Early Birds.
Going Deep is brought to you by Zaxby's. Famous fingers and sauces. We're getting your Saturday started right. Early Birds is back in a moment.
Welcome back to Early Birds. Well, for NFL players dealing with an injury, getting back on the field can take a long process. But getting back to full strength from before the injury, well, that can be even more time and even more work. That's the focus of this week's Emory Road to Recovery.
Recovering back to full strength is, variable from athlete to athlete, and most of these guys are just unbelievable athletes, and they're in the peak performance of their life, and they work harder, and just so they get back. They really truly do. They really, and sometimes honestly they get back even stronger, both physically and mentally, and it's really amazing to watch, and I'm like privileged, as I always say, to be a part of it.
Similar to Justin Felder, always comes back stronger. Still to come on Early Birds, Grady Jarrett earned one of the NFL's most prestigious honors for the second time in his career. We'll tell you about it next on Early Birds.
You're watching Early Birds, presented by Mercedes-Benz, on your official home for Falcons football, Fox 5 Atlanta. Early Birds has been presented to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
At the end of the day, I can only be a football player for so long. The type of man I am, the type of legacy I'm going to leave on this earth is what's going to outlast all the stuff. And to be recognized for this again, it's definitely up there with the top of anything I've ever received.
Well, Shock, earlier this past week, Grady Jarrett, Falcons defensive lineman, was for the second time in his career named the Falcons nominee for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year award. And DJ, around the league, this is known as one of the awards that's right up there with anything you can win.
Oh, no doubt about it. It's one of the awards that everybody understands and recognizes that it's more than just a player. It's more about the guy, the man. And you heard Grady, one of the guys who understands that, hey, football is not going to last forever, but how people view me, how people, my legacy, that's what I want to be remembered for. And Grady's been doing it since he became Atlanta Falcons, so you love to see it. Congrats to him again. But just to see a young man like him be able to go out and do the things that he's been done and help with so many other people is really cool.
This video is from the Falcons Community Honor Show this past week, and you saw some folks on stage. That's Bradley Pinion, last year's nominee, giving him the award, but the people on stage were actually some of the folks from charities that Grady's worked with, like this young man right here. That was real cool. Brought them up to give Grady that honor. And be sure to check out the Dirty Bird Report tomorrow night. We're going to be breaking down the Falcons game with the Vikings. Going to be a big one, an important one for the Atlanta Falcons. That game, the show, tomorrow night, 11:30 p.m. Make sure to tune in. So, Falcons and Vikings tomorrow at 1. DJ, a lot of talk about Justin Jefferson, Sam Darnold, but you say don't sleep on the run game.
Ooh, do not sleep on it, because Aaron Jones is a beast of his own right. He's a guy that's come over and helped Sam Darnold. We talk about how good Sam Darnold's played, but you got a guy like Aaron Jones who can take some of the pressure off of him, and then it opens up things on the back end.
Right.
We can't allow them to have a two-way go, throwing the football and running the football. Have to lock down him as well.
Yeah, giving Sam Darnold easy passes there. Guy came over from the Packers, goes to the arch rival, having a really good year. That's a great point. Sure. Something to watch as well. All right, DJ, thank you so much. That's it from us here on Early Birds. For DJ Shockley, I'm Justin Felder. Have a good morning and a great rest of your weekend.